Hi beautiful soul. In this video I'm wanting to share how I lost 20 kilos by balancing my masculine and feminine energies despite having struggled with some hormonal issues. So just by way of background, I am coming out of, really bad burnout that I had experienced for over 2 years. And, this was due to what a lot of women are told we're meant to be doing in life, which is, having a career and working really hard and pushing ourselves to kind of fit into this really masculine structure that we're living in, that's been created, the 3D reality that we're in. And so in my pursuit of being successful and being an independent woman in this modern age, I was studying law, I was managing teams, I worked in a leadership role, I was managing really big projects as well, and working well into the night, beyond what was comfortable for me, and not having any time off for 2 years. And that led to me putting on a lot of weight. I put on around 30 kilos. So I'm still in the process of losing that last bit of weight, but I did just want to share something that I've had success with, because I know people are really struggling out there in the current system we're in, doing their best, trying to manage their life and struggling with the weight that comes with pressure, overworking, things like that. So a big realization I had was things were just going in the wrong direction. I was finding success in the 3D reality that I was in, but my energy levels, my body, my health was just kind of starting to decline. And after throwing a whole bunch of money at it, seeing various people that I thought could help fix things, I kind of landed in this place where I had the realization that I needed to be more in my feminine. I needed to reconnect with myself so that I could make the right decisions for myself, and that wasn't going to come from burning out and overworking myself. So yeah, I went down this path of kind of looking at what I really wanted for myself, and it was to have more energy. It was to be able to get to things that I enjoyed doing and to feel, that vitality and health that I felt prior to going down this path of seeking success in the 3D reality. So something I noticed with the hormonal side of things, with the weight gain, was that all of the advice actually was around reducing stress, was around, manageable workloads, was around things that I correlated with being in my masculine energy. And so I really ended up pulling back from this desire to pursue success, and instead directed all of my energy, all of my attention to healing, to nurturing myself, and kind of fixing the imbalance that was there. And so how did I rebalance things? So a lot of the advice, particularly PCOS, really aligned with going back into my feminine energy. So for those of you who don't know, PCOS is an endocrine disorder, and it's characterized by elevated levels of androgen. So that's often referred to as male hormones, and that can lead to excessive facial hair, irregular periods, things like that. That's acne. And it also has been suggested to actually influence male personality traits like assertiveness, like competitiveness, things like that. And that was certainly the energy that I have been in for a number of years, in the competitive environments, like corporate work environments, like uni environments, and a law degree. So, they're typically very competitive types of environments. And I think that being in my masculine energy, having PCOS, probably was all linked together in that way. Also, Chronic stress, that's like that pushing, that drive, that wanting success, that is a really masculine energy in my view. So the focus on doing, on achieving, that definitely for me exacerbated my PCOS symptoms, and certainly the advice, and I'm not a medical professional by the way, you should seek medical advice. However, I found that stress really had a big impact on things like cortisol, on disrupting my hormonal balance further, and resulted in symptoms like weight gain and fatigue. And certainly lifestyle factors came in as well. So overworking, neglecting self care, um, not putting as much time or energy into looking after myself that I would have prior was definitely me being in my masculine energy too much. And that also meant that with all of the stress and all of this drive and wanting to succeed, things like sleep was impacted, things like unhealthy eating habits came in. You know, I was not going to the gym as regularly, and all of this aggravated um, my symptoms, made me put on weight, and um, was a direct result of being in the masculine too much and not in my feminine energy enough. And so I knew I needed to do something to kind of correct this and to create more balance in myself. And that meant rejoining all of the parts of myself that I had compartmentalized in order to kind of survive, in order to succeed, in order to push myself beyond what my body's limits really were. And that was a process of meditation, creating that space to feel my emotions, connecting back in with myself, and just being able to feel again. So that meant being in the flow, and that was something that I had kind of blocked because, you know, when you've got deadlines, when you've got heaps of responsibilities and things on your plate, it's not really conducive to being in a state of flow constantly because you're needing to just work well beyond what your limits actually are. And so I wasn't in a state of flow, I was in a state of pushing and pushing. And yeah, it was really uncomfortable. Um, so I needed to also reevaluate my workload and commitments, including friendships, including people, anything that was draining my energy that I didn't really want to do at the end of the day and I knew was not good for me. So kind of coming back into balance means having really strong boundaries around your energy, around your time, because we need to put that back into ourselves and replenish ourselves. And I'm sure we've all heard that you can't pour from an empty cup. Connecting these parts allowed me to also connect to my body and my hunger cues, and to also have that awareness of where stress was impacting on, you know, my hunger hormones, where interacting with a certain person or being in a certain environment would also affect that, and actually removing those things out of my life. And so that means also staying strong in your own values. So for me now, that's like health and well-being and trying to live the most fulfilling life that I can, and also having the goal of getting back to myself, losing the weight, getting back to who I feel that I really am, so I can be out there in the world feeling that vitality that I used to feel, feeling energized, and not depleted and fatigued all the time. Noticing the stress levels and how that correlated with anxiety and how that affected my food as well. So definitely being in a state of high stress was affecting the food choices that I made, and I was gravitating to things that weren't necessarily healthy for me and good for my hormones. And so making that connection as well and creating more space in my life by cutting things out, to eat healthy, to prepare healthy food made a real difference. And so recognizing that modern society that we live in has not been created with the woman's monthly cyclical nature of our bodies in mind. Like, this system that we're in is a 24-hour cycle, and that's typically based on a man's, body, a man's hormonal profile, where they're energized in the morning, and then over the course of a day, their energy levels peter out, and then they go home and then are fresh again for the next day. So our bodies fluctuate over the course of a month, and we're pushing ourselves often to kind of fit in this environment that isn't supportive of us. So yeah, I think balancing out my energies has been really helpful, and that's something I'm definitely mindful of moving forward in terms of the commitments that I take on, in terms of my workload, and it's definitely helped lose the weight. So I hope this has helped someone. I love you.